There we go.
Okay, there we go. Okay, sorry. I know I don't usually use this computer, but so I had to all install it and everything. So.
No, that's fine. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Just a heads up, we put on our website, you may have not, we put on the form and everything, but we've begun recording the Zoom sessions and the training sessions.
Okay.
It helps out a lot, especially with COVID. It shows people that we're still, working and stuff.
That's, yeah, because I was wondering about that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Any questions before we get started?
Nope.
So for Lexus, we've had her, what was it, Wednesday or Thursday, so like 2 or 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when you dropped her off, I was the one that took her, and we had some reactivity with the barking.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Now, is that your primary concern with Lexus in terms of addressing things, or is it just?
Well, yes, and she's just also, as I mentioned to you, she's very hyperactive. She's a maniac. She goes bonkers. It's almost like I feel like she's a Belgian Malinois instead of she's like a German Shepherd on crack. So she really needs to I know, and she's just a puppy. She's always in just this mode. She and my other German Shepherd, I think he was there when I dropped Lexus off. He's 4 years old, very good dog, perfect dog, not perfect, but in my eyes, very well trained, very well behaved. They both have the same mother, but different father. So, but they're two totally different dogs, and obviously two different, male and female. So those are two primary concerns. She lunges, she barks when people riding their bike, the car going, that's kind of dangerous,
Yes.
But the hyperactivity, she just needs to chill out,
Okay, so the hyperactivity, let's say with, are you seeing that within the home?
Yes, especially when it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner time, she'll stay outside my deck very quietly, patiently. But as soon as I open the door and she comes in, she jumps all. You can see, I don't know if you can see it, but she just like scratched me on my face like earlier today. I exercise her and to get her tired. She's just super energy. She just has so much energy. So we have to, I have to get her tired in order for her. And she sleeps a lot. She will go and take a nap for hours. She'll sleep through the whole night. So, and I'm trying to get back on track. In the home, it's all the time when she meets, she comes and sees me, or she comes sees my partner Bob. It's just it's like she's excited to see us, but it's even when my family comes over. But although with COVID and everything, we haven't had really anybody come over, but I've had my family and Bob's family come over, and the first time she was very stressed out. She was very nervous because it was a new encounter. She didn't know who my nieces and nephews are, and there were a lot of people because I have 6 sisters and a brother. So, but she was that night, she was very stressed out, and she like pooped in her crate because she was really stressed out, Yeah. So, but it happens in the home all the time. I mean, there are times when she's relaxed, but it's because she's tired.
Gotcha. So the reason I was pushing you to make the Zoom sooner is because typically we do this at the end, and I like kind of fill people in on what their puppies learn and stuff, or if their puppy, like the primary concern typically under 6 months is potty training.
You're right.
We go over potty training, just general questions, right?
Yeah.
As soon as I saw Lexus, I was like, this is different. Okay. So it's not that we can't handle it. Okay. I deal with that stuff all the time. However, even though she's just 4 months, it's, how do you say, in my opinion, she needs more advanced work.
Okay.
Because the puppy head start is, crate training, potty training, and real basic foundational, sit with food and stuff like that, right? Everything's done with food. And I can see her energy that you're saying. She's overstimulated,
Yes.
Kind of like no off switch. Like she'll fall asleep and then she's back up, and then it's, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Is she needs more formal discipline. Okay. Now, for example, for dogs, like let's say Lexus did something to, what's your other dog's name?
Benz. So I have a cat, Mercedes, my German Benz, and then Lexus.
I like that.
I know. So when we added Lexus, it was like, was perfect. Mercedes and Benz, and now Lexus. So.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool. So with Benz, let's say Lexus and I know he's super chill, but for example, let's say Lexus was just annoying Benz. Okay, how do you think he would stop her?
He'd growl, make a noise, like give her.
Growl, okay.
Yeah,
and let's say she didn't respect the growl and she kept pushing. How do you think he'd correct her?
He'd probably, I think he's just been walking away from her, just running away from her. He's very soft.
Avoided.
You know, he just runs away, just hides. Or, you know, he, like I said, he would just get louder with his growl, show his teeth, you know, like, now leave me alone. I mean it, you know.
Right. He becomes more threatening, right? So like for Ben's, when she's exhausted that, he's like, fine, you're not going to learn. He's one to just avoid confrontation. Okay? Other dogs, which is biter. Okay, they use physicality to say, hey, don't treat me the way you're treating me and respect my personal space and my boundaries. Okay. So when it comes to these behaviors like the reactivity or the overstimulation, it's the lack of that kind of discipline. Okay. In certain cases. So for Lexus, even though it was the same mother but different father, right? You know, most people would assume I'm gonna get like the same dog, right? But even if it was same mother, same father,
right,
you could still end up with a completely different dog than Ben's, right? Because it's all about genetics. You know, they'll have like 8 puppies and then 1 puppy screwed up, right? Like it happens. So for her genetic makeup, it's a much more, how do you say, overstimulated or easily more excitable dog. And it's leading to reactivity. Okay. And the food treat stuff is not going to do anything substantial for that behavior. Okay. Okay. So this is more sort of inform you of what we can do with what we have. Okay. And then what I would advise you to do, and then you just decide how you want to move forward. Okay. Because I'm all about like making sure that the owner is happy, you know, things like that. And right away when I saw her and I saw everything, and I'm like, yeah, this is it's a little bit different. Okay. So even though she's 4 months and technically the Head Start age frame, your primary concern is outside of that scope. Okay. So because they took her out for a couple of walks, training walks, and they're very good handlers, and we use, because you have her on a harness, the harness actually exacerbates the reactivity. Okay. It makes it worse. So dogs have a thing called opposition reflex. Are you familiar with that?
I don't think I've heard that term. But
okay, so it's a fancy word. Okay, what it means is when a dog feels pressure, they go against it. So if she pulls forward and you pull back, she pulls more forward. Okay, and it creates frustration, and then it becomes the bark, 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 lunging type of behavior that you're seeing. Okay. But that's already kind of, because we don't walk her with the harness, we walk her in a slip leash. Okay. That gives us the most control. And she's still reactive. It's much better, but still reactive. Okay. So with the harness on, it would be even harder to control, or the reactivity would be even worse. Okay. So I always tell people, when you know, I get it for puppies why they do it, especially if it's not trained. You don't want the puppy choking itself and stuff like that. Right. And that's where real, like, more formal obedience comes into play. So for Lexus, one may think like, oh, will she outgrow this? You know, and when it starts that young, I'm going to gamble on the side of no. Okay. Typically puppies, when they exhibit these behaviors, it's more so around the 6 month or the year mark. Okay. Because that's when there's a personality shift. She's only 4 months. Right. And she's already displaying this behavior. So I'm going more towards like, this is genetic. This is just how she's wired. Okay. And, you know, we could just do what we've been doing, puppy training and stuff. You're going to get it right back. And I'm almost positive it's going to be the same. Okay. And then the response is like, what the hell did Jesse, did they even train our dog? And it's not that we didn't, it's that the program that she has and where her behavior is at are not compatible. Okay. Okay. So before reaching out to us and like, you know, scheduling the puppy Head Start, did you do any research just like on what we're known for and how we typically train as opposed for puppies under 6 months?
Well, I got the impression from your website that you deal with more behavioral aggressive dogs.
Correct.
So I was debating whether I don't know what the technique that you use. I don't know if it was positive reinforcement or if you said food. So now that I know it's food that you use, so it's so different. So I don't know the exact mode that you use to train,
Sure.
but you know it seemed like, you know, but you had more programs available. That's why I chose you, because there was that Head Start program. I said, well, she's just a puppy, you know, this is probably just to get her a jump start, because I put Ben's in training at 6 months, not even 4 months. I didn't even let him go outside for walks until he was registered with the city and
Sure.
even go to daycare. So I know she needs a little early start. So why don't you explain to me? So that's why you seem like you were, renowned for your ability to train, compared to Cesar Milan. But I felt like you guys dealt with more with like pits, behavior, aggressive dogs. So I don't know what kind of dogs are in your facility, but that's kind of the impression that I got. So, but go ahead and explain the mode of technique.
Okay, for sure. So for puppies under 6 months, typically,
yeah,
when they're just, again, crate training, potty training, real simple stuff. They're puppies. It's like, how would you say, like kids in kindergarten, right?
Right.
It's positive reinforcement, sit down, stay, come.
Okay.
Simple stuff.
Okay.
And then there's Lexus, right? That right away, I'm like, this is right off the bat more advanced, because a puppy at 4 months with that kind of bark, I'm not saying she's aggressive, but more so the assertiveness. And I think I mentioned it even when you dropped her off, right? Right away, I was like, so let's say Lexus did well with the slip leash on the walks.
Okay.
Right? I would tell you and I would inform you and I would say, hey, the harness, no good, get rid of that. We need to change the tool. Okay. But even with my experienced handlers who've trained dogs that are like 150 pounds and stuff and deal with all the boarding trains and daycare and trains and stuff, we're having issues. So I go, okay, it's not going to be just enough with the slip lead. She needs more advanced stuff. Okay. So let's disregard the fact that she's 4 months. Okay. Personality wise, I know she needs more advanced stuff, right? Is for puppies 6 months and older, I train for reality. I train for real life problems. My dog, not my dog, but like the dog is like running because it's scared of a firework. The dog is running towards a street chasing a squirrel. The dog's at the dog park and then they go for a ball and another dog comes for the ball and they get in a fight, right? I train for that so that the owner has the ability to get control back even when things go south. Okay, that's how I view things. Because if we have the training to that degree, then everything else is easy peasy. But that's when you absolutely need training to work. Okay, so the way we get that reliability is by the use of aversives. Okay, which is like, are you familiar with prong collar?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Are you familiar with e-collar?
Yes, I have them all.
Okay, beautiful. On Ben's.
Yeah, I use them. I put Ben's in training every year, and I tried different training programs, and he has his canine good citizen, and that's when the trainer said, you know what, yes, you need to get rid of the prong collar, get him a harness, which I did because he got his certificate, and now he can be a therapy dog if you want. So different people are telling me different things. So I have everything.
Okay. So I'll explain to you just like how these things work. Okay. Ben's, if he's a super chill dog, he's already had the discipline technically, right?
Yeah.
But now he's 4 years old. He's a chill dog. You could digress to the harness, right? And
I do.
Okay. And I have no problem with it. The only issue I would have is, let's say you take Ben to the park, right? And there's a freak explosion somewhere and he takes off. I would say, can you get him back?
Yes. Yeah, he's very loyal. He's the kind of dog you want at the police department or the fire department. I mean, you call his name, he comes.
Excellent, right?
He's great.
Okay, so that's what we're trying to train forward, right?
Right.
So even though Lexus is 4 months, because I see the issue is more advanced, I just go, don't even waste time with puppy Head Start. I would jump straight into remote collar. Okay, It's not, I have a puppy here right now that's 3.5 or 4 months right now.
Okay.
And he's on e-collar because he bit their 9-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she went to grab his bully stick and he bit her pretty good.
Oh.
And I don't know if you can see here. You
Yeah,
see that mark on my,
yep.
He bit me. And
wow.
he broke the nail. Okay.
Oh,
So, and he's only a 15-pound mini golden doodle.
oh.
Right. But when I talked to him on the Zoom, I said, this problem is more advanced than treats. Okay. And because it's more advanced and there's the risk of the children, you can jump straight into e-collar. It's perfectly safe as long as the owner is okay with it.
Okay.
Like, because it's a psychological thing.
Mm-hmm.
So dogs, when they raise their puppies, they bite their puppies, right? And they're not like humans where we're like, we look at them as, how do you say, like they don't know right from wrong type of stuff, which is a human concept, but they learn what you allow and what you don't allow, right? So for that puppy, we wanted to dissuade that behavior immediately, because the longer it goes unaddressed, the bigger problem it is down the line, right? So he's doing a 1-week board and train because they went to travel and stuff, but he's only 3.5, 4 months, and he's doing great. Okay, so it's perfectly fine to start a puppy earlier with these more advanced techniques, and it's the way we approach it. Okay, most people think when we use these tools, it's like, you know, you're yanking the dog and you're like making them yelp and stuff like that, but that's not at all how we train. But the discipline from the remote would help settle down Lexus, okay? Because now she's getting discipline. Now there's boundaries and rules, okay?
Yeah. This
would help with the reactivity, okay? Ideally to the point where we don't see reactivity. You'd also get the level of control that I'd assume that you have with Ben's, okay?
Yeah.
Because, and with older dogs, you can get away with it because they mature faster because they're bigger, whereas smaller dogs tend to mature a little bit slower, okay? But looking at her size and her temperament and everything going on, I would just suggest we do something more advanced.
Okay.
And what we could do is, if you're okay with it, we have a daycare and train program.
Okay.
So with the puppy Head Start, you get a follow-up Zoom, but that's pretty much it because we're just expecting real simple stuff, right?
Okay.
But with the daycare and train, you would get in-person follow-up, and we work at the park. So we're outside with dogs and distractions, people, strollers, rollerbladers, kids. So then you can see how it's working in real life. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then what we can do is I could have Maria follow up with you. She would give you the price. And what I would suggest is the same length of time. It's just 10 days.
Okay.
And then we just credit the full price that you've paid for the puppy Head Start, which is credited towards the daycare and train. You just pay the difference. Okay. But then we start back at 0, you know, so it'd be 10 days and not like, you know, 7 or whatever that's left over from the puppy Head Start.
Okay.
Okay. Because the only other option, if you insisted on the puppy Head Start, okay, is and you don't want to do aversives, is I'm not sure if you heard of a gentle leader. It goes over the muzzle and it clips to the leash right here. So it's kind of like a horse bridle.
Okay.
The problem with it is there's no real aversive. Okay. There's more control because you control the head, but there's no way to really correct the behavior. Okay. So with the e-collar, if Lexus blew up and became reactive, we could correct her with that tool to dissuade the behavior. Okay. With gentle leader, we don't have that ability. And it would be like, it'd be more so management. And I would, for you, expect to have a lot of work on your part once you take her back to even try to make progress, which I don't think you would. Okay. There's a reason why I use e-collars and prongs for all my puppies over 6 months is because I know that's the best way, in my opinion, to get control. Okay. And it's easy for you in terms of transferring what she's learned because of the way that we teach. Okay. And then if she became reactive with you, it's easy to stop it because it's press a button. Okay. Like we do the work, we teach everything. We teach you what we've taught her, and then we teach you how do you apply it. Okay.
Okay.
Question so far?
Yes, I did. So like I said, I own an e-collar. I use it for bends, for training, and I used a different training company, but I probably used it maybe a handful of times and didn't need to use it anymore because I mean, he was like that, you know, but like not all dogs are like Ben's. So, and actually before I even signed up for your program, I said, well, she's not 6 months old, so I can't use that e-collar on her because she's still too young. So, but now you're telling me, yeah, she's a little more advanced for her age. I mean, she's confident. She's big. She's almost 50 pounds at 4 months.
Yeah, she's a sizable 4-month-old German Shepherd for sure.
Oh yeah, she's gonna be. Ben's is 105 pounds. She's gonna be bigger than Ben's. She's just got taller legs, and that's how her dad looks. So, I don't oppose using the e-collar. The prong, I have that. My partner Bob, he worked in law enforcement. He's just like you. E-collar, prong, that's what I want to use. Me, I'm, you know, I harness, you know, I don't like anything, you know, I mean, but it doesn't hurt them. I know it doesn't hurt them because the facility that I took Ben's for training, they said to use the prong. So I have that too. But, you know, I personally just don't use it on Ben's. I just use because I don't need to restrain him. He never, you know, he doesn't, he listens and, you know, I just use the harness. The question I had, now I just lost, let's just put it, I'll think about it. The board and train program, and I told Maria the only issue I have with putting her in the Head Start was because of the commute time from where I am to where, you know, so for these 10 days, I've rearranged my schedule so that I could, because I live all the way near Lincolnwood, you know, I live in Forest Glen. So for me to, it's no traffic. But anyway, I'm not getting to my question. I don't know what my question was, but why don't you continue talking and then I'll get to my question. But
what's your intersection in Lincolnwood?
It's not in Lincoln. It's just, it's right south. We're still in the city. It's just south of Lincolnwood. It's near Lincolnwood. It's just north of Foster and Cicero. It's like right between Foster and Peterson on just west of Cicero.
Oh, so you're north.
It's like Edgebrook, Sauganash over there. It's right. That's that neighborhood.
Okay. Potentially, because I mean, we're still rebuilding like our daycare base because COVID like just changed everything, right?
Yeah, and Marie did mention the transportation. She did mention that to me. So, you know, it's like I said, I've been, as you see, went there Wednesday. It's no problem. 7:30, I can get there.
Sure.
You know, and I haven't had a problem. I just park my car at the Metro Clybourne. I get to work, and it's 5 minutes away. So it's that's fine. You know. But if I think of my question, it must have not been important. So sorry about that.
If you remember,
it should have been important.
Send an email.
Okay.
But yeah, it's perfectly fine to use. Like I can train puppies as young as 2 months. It's just I know for the owner, they typically won't accept it till 6 months, right? Mm-hmm. In your particular case, I saw the behavior, I saw the dog, I saw the assertiveness, you know, and I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure this dog is more advanced, right?
Now I know. So like I said, before I enrolled in the program, I was thinking about using the e-collar, but then I was like, she's too young. My only issue with that is you're going to have to, you guys show us how to use that, right? Because when I tried to use it, that's my question. I tried to use it on him, you know, the level on that remote, you know, we set it at a level that was comfortable for him, but I always felt like, I mean, it's a pretty good e-collar. So, but, you know, I just haven't used it in a very long time. So you guys would.
Yes. So
give me a refresher. Okay.
Correct. With the daycare and train, you get follow-up lessons with me.
Okay.
Okay. So the puppy Head Start, again, it's just the Zoom stuff because it's supposed to be easy. Mm-hmm. But your case is not that easy. Okay. So if you do the 10-day daycare and train, you'd get up to 3 hours of in-person work with us. Okay. Okay. And we're outside. We've been working at Oz Park because it's so busy. Yeah. You know, that it's prime that if your dog will listen there, anywhere else isn't a problem. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's all been verbal instruction because of COVID. Okay. And everybody's been doing great because of e-collar. That's why it's my favorite go-to tool as opposed to last resort. It's my first resort. Okay. Okay. So we teach you everything. We teach you the way that we use it. We have supplemental videos that we would send you to say, like, tell you, watch these to prep you for class. Okay. Right. And also what we do is we've begun recording the first session with your dog. Okay. And I make a video and I send it to you. And you watch it, so you see how your dogs respond on the first class. And at the end of the program, on the 10th or 9th, 10th day, we make an overview video where we review everything, so you see where your dog started from and where they're ending at. Okay. And then we send you supplemental stuff, and then you meet us. So you already come in with an education on Lexus. This is somebody else's dogs. This is Lexus. Okay. And then you can ask the questions. We tie up any loose ends, and then I help you learn how how everything works, how to use it, and all that stuff. And then you do your homework, and then you schedule as needed. Okay. So it's all about educating the owner. We already know how to train the dog.
And training the owner.
Yeah. So I stress educating and training people. So that won't be a problem.
Okay.
One thing that I will note is, again, Lexus is a different personality. Right? With Ben's, you were able to progress to the point of, we don't need the e-collar. You may not get that with Lexus.
Okay. And like I said, Ben's just joined me today. I mean, just right now, he's right here. And, she, and actually, let me go back a little bit. Potty training is a concern for me, but it's the problem that I have is that, I don't have to worry about him. He's potty trained. He and the cat can roam freely around the house. There's 3 levels. They go run away. Lexus, I don't trust her sometimes, and she's still a puppy. He was potty trained like 2 weeks, this guy. I mean, it was easy. I mean, I was just amazed. I couldn't believe it. I mean, he's still like within, maybe after that time, he had a little bit accidents, but it was just from out of excitement. But I can't let her join the pack around here, because one, she'll smother, she'll tear the kitten to pieces if she gets in contact with her. That's my concern. So I want them to all live happily ever after. And right now I have to put Lexus in her crate. I never use the crate on Ben's. That's where she's also different. She does well with the crate, but the potty training, yes, it is a bit of a concern, because I have to watch her, and she's a chewer. That dog, that golden doodle that you mentioned, he was, they're teething. So I said, well, she's just got to, by October, she should be done with this. Her baby tooth came out today. So, it's for me, it's because she's teething, she's mouthing sometimes, it's just because she's a puppy, but that's my concern. I want her to be able to come up here and run around and play with us. And I don't feel comfortable. I have to put her in her crate and she goes to sleep. And I don't like to doing that. I want her to spend more time with us. That's
okay. So with the daycare and train, so what we'll do is we'll switch topics here. Does that all make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. So then I'll talk to Maria afterwards, and I'll inform her. She'll get back to you, and then you can confirm or what have you. Okay.
Okay.
But I can help you with the potty training now.
Okay.
Okay. So is she on any kind of schedule?
Yeah, it's structured, but I wouldn't say on any. I mean, every 20 minutes, I just kind of watch her. I let her go out, But I use the crate to train her. So I put her in the crate. I let her relieve herself, poop and pee. And then when she's tired, I put her in the crate. And so I was using the crate to reward her. She wants to come out to go and go pee or poop outside. So then once she did that, I said, good girl, give her positive reinforcement. So I don't know if she's really on a schedule, but it is structured in a way. But, like the one day that she came back, I picked her up on maybe Thursday or maybe Thursday. I was like, but, I picked her up and she came into the yard and she peed for like a minute. And I was like, okay, they must be doing something with the potty training or, so that was always my issue is like, how can somebody potty train my dog in these sort of programs because she's not home,
Gotcha, right. So with the puppy head start, what we do is we get a schedule here, and then I talk to the owners over Zoom, and I put them on the same schedule. So then it starts to transfer over. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what I will do here is give you essentially what the structure is so that you can start applying that at home and start working on that. Okay. So you mentioned something about you look at her like every 20 minutes or what have you, then you run her out when you feel like she's got to go, right?
Yes.
So technically Lexus is capable of holding it up to 4 hours.
Or 5 hours, I guess they say.
Right.
She's 4 months, you add another month or another year. I mean, another hour, sorry.
I do hour per month. I think that's more accurate. So I would go with 4. Okay. But the issue is, and this is 4 hours when she's awake. Okay. Overnight, obviously, that's different. She's inactive. She's sleeping. She'll go through the night.
Exactly.
So since she doesn't have a set schedule yet, what we do is we go back to every 2 hours. Okay. We just go back to ground zero. Even if I have a puppy that's 9 months old, if it's not potty trained, I tell people go back to 2 hours. Okay. That's the baseline, but they just happen to be able to progress faster because they have an older dog. So let's say Saturday, you're going to be home all day. Okay. The general layout for your day would be, let's say, for example, you wake up at 7. You take out Lexus. She pees, she poops. Back inside, I would assume feeding time. And then after feeding, half an hour later, potty break, pee, right? Maybe no poop. Back inside, 8 o'clock, right? Every 2 hours from 8 o'clock is now her schedule. 8, 10, 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay. And what you're doing is you took her out at 8 o'clock. You're like, okay, I feel like you're empty. And we'll pretend that you don't have the cat in beds. Okay. She has freedom because she's emptied herself. Okay. But let's say an hour and a half later, she looks suspicious. She looks like she's going to have to, like she's circling, she's sniffing, right? And you go, I think you have to potty. Most people take their puppy out the potty. I don't. I put them in the kennel. Okay. And for that last half an hour to close off that 2 hour time frame. So now you're teaching her to hold it for 2 hours. Come 10 o'clock, I leash her up back in the yard. She pees. I know she doesn't have to poop. We're good. Back inside, reset. Okay. Maybe she goes till 12 o'clock, no problems. Outside at 12, she pees. I know she has to poop, and then she does. Good. Back inside, 2 o'clock, right? But at 1:30, she looks suspicious. In the kennel till 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock, out the potty. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I think the problem is with me is that she has access to her water bowl. So when she comes inside, she goes straight to the water bowl because she's always thirsty. She's drinking. And that's why I have to tend her out every 20 minutes because if she's out in the grass, she goes and she pees, But, like I said, the problem was with the daycare that I was putting her in before I enrolled her in this program, they're concrete. They got concrete play area. And it's the same as my basement. So she comes to the basement. I removed all the area rugs in the basement for her, and I repainted the basement floor. She comes in, she'll pee because she thinks it's the daycare floor. So that's the one problem I have is she has access to water. So I should withhold the water from her. You're saying take it away from her? Okay.
Correct. So the general rule of thumb for water is an ounce per pound.
Okay.
Okay. So if you said 40, 50 pounds?
Yeah. So, she was 45 a couple weeks ago.
So let's say it's 15 ounces of water for breakfast, 15 ounces lunchtime if she eats lunch, or if not, just during midday, and then 15 ounces at 6 to 7 p.m., and then we're done. Okay. Now, if you exercise her more, in between that time frame, you can give her a little bit more water, but not a ton, like maybe 5 or 10 ounces, but now you can account for I've given you more water. Okay. While we're potty training, once she's potty trained, you can have free water, no problem. Okay. But during this timeline or in this time frame, not beneficial for you for potty training. Okay. And just so you know, we take dogs outside the potty. We dissuade as much as possible peeing inside. Okay. It happens, but we take them out and let them go potty. So it still kind of reinforces any kind of schedule that the owner may have. Okay. Like you mentioned earlier, when she goes outside, you would give her a treat when she potties outside, right?
Yeah, or just say good girl,
Girl, yeah, a little praise, some positive, right? So this 2 hour schedule is only if you're going to be home all day.
Right.
Let's say you're going to leave for 5 hours. Okay. And you're going to leave at 1 o'clock, but her next outing is at 2 o'clock. Okay. Then at 12:45, before you leave, you take her out to go potty. Then you kennel her, and then you're gone for 5 hours. Okay, you wouldn't come back on the clock, right? You would do your thing, come back, let her out, and then start your potty schedule according from that time.
Gotcha.
Okay. Uh,
The reality is I'm gone for 8 hours, you know, or longer during the day, you know, during the week, Monday through Friday.
right. Now, let's say Monday through Friday, you know, post training here, right? Would she be in the kennel 9 to 5?
Yeah, she would have to be, because she chews up anything.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, is that will actually help speed up the potty training process. It should. Okay, especially if you're putting it in conjunction with that schedule, because let's say midday, you know, let's say she's been fine, but for the sake of example, she potties in the kennel midday, and she's howling and barking like this sucks. Right. That's actually what teaches her not to potty inside the house.
Okay.
Because then she's like, this sucks. Like I'm sitting here next to poop all day, right? So the next day, if she has to go, she's going to think twice about it. She's going to try harder. Okay? So they work hand in hand. So in your case, you're able to leave for work, but like a lot of my clients that are working from home because of COVID are having a harder time potty training their dog.
Oh yeah.
Because they're not doing the 9 to 5. And I've been telling them, I don't care if you're home working, still kennel your dog 9 to 5, because that's what life would look like.
Right.
Okay. So that's perfectly fine. You know, once you get her back, that you put her on that schedule of 9 to 5. Now, if you'd like to give her a break, you know, some people will get a dog walker midday.
Right.
For a dog her size and at her age, she would be capable of holding it for that full time frame. Really? But expect to get a few accidents, okay?
Right.
But she should learn pretty quick. She's capable of doing more. It's just she's not been taught to do so quite yet.
Right.
Okay.
So, you know, so let's say hypothetically, she's in a month from now, you know, we're done with this program, we're done with the daycare and train, you know, I start the potty training, you know, the schedule. She's 5 months old at that point. So technically she can hold her pee for 5 hours. As long as I withhold the water and I'm going to leave her in the crate from 9 to 5. I mean, Bob gets home at like 3. So, you know, I mean, he, you know, better. Okay. So, I mean, I get home at 6. So if you know, so as long as the water is withheld, she won't feel the need to urinate in the crate during that time period. If I gave her water at 7 o'clock that morning and I crated her, I mean, and then before I left for, well, let's say I leave at 7:30. I gave her water at 5:30 that morning, and then I tell her, you know, okay, now I'm going to leave to work. I got to put, you know, let's go out, take a potty break at that 7:30 mark, put you in the crate. And then, so technically the time that I leave the house at 7:30 till the time Bob gets home, because she didn't have any water at the point, she would be able to hold her. And obviously I let her poop too as well before she leaves. So is that what you're saying?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
Right. But there may be mistakes, but that's part of the process, right? Okay. Because so for me, let's going back to Saturdays when you'd be on that 2-hour schedule. Let's say, you know, you put her, she's supposed to go out at 12 and at 11:30, she's in the kennel. Let's say she really had to go and she pees in the kennel. Okay.
Yeah.
Most people clean up the dog, clean up the kennel.
Right.
I leave them until the outing time.
Oh, okay.
Because there has to be an aversive, in my opinion, to dissuade the behavior. So if you immediately, like she barks like, hey, I soiled my kennel, come clean this, and you do so.
That's how she is.
There's nothing to dissuade her from doing it again, right? So I don't punish the dog and leave them for an extended period of time. I go, your outing's not till, you know, 12 o'clock. So you're going to have to deal with that for a half an hour. Okay. So I'm using, because dogs don't want to pee or poop or they eat and sleep. Right. So the reason why she's barking is because it's gross. So the next time she's going to try harder. Okay. So when I get clients that do leave and their dog has a potty mistake midday, it's a really good learning experience because the time frame that they're having to sit there next to this is longer. So they're more so motivated to. Dogs are really good about learning and adapting to like their bowels and their bladder and controlling it and stuff. It's just the way that we teach it. Okay. So I'm very strict and very black and white. Okay. But the way I train my clients' puppies is the same way I train my dogs, and they'll hold it up to 24 hours. Wow. Like if it's raining, like they hate it. They don't go out.
I know. Ben doesn't like it.
Yeah. So they're like, we'll wait, you know, fireworks, 4th of July, forget about it.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we're good. We'll wait till that's done, you know? because of the way that I've trained them.
Yeah. Because I think the first night she got there, the first night she came back from the Head Start program, she was obviously very nervous, and so I expected she to be a little bit stressed out.
Yep.
And so usually, I put her to bed like 7:30 to 8. I put her in her crate because I'm old, so I go to sleep early. So she's, I put her in there, but so I can go do my thing, whatever. And so the first night that she came back, that next morning, usually she starts whining, and I said, okay, she needs to go out. That's it. She just can't hold it. This time, heard her whining and get up right away, but she had already peed in her crate. So either she was so tired that she just, like the kids, kids, they went to bed, because they were lazy to go to use the bathroom. She she was like, man, I was like, she must have been really tired that she just wet herself, and she just couldn't wait to get out. But usually she, I said, okay, I'm coming. Or if it's like, I got 5 minutes, I said, okay, because this was early, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh, wow. And she peed in her crate and didn't even give me that, she whined, and then it had already happened. So, that I think she was just so tired she just wet herself, she didn't even realize that, so that's stuff we need to,
right? That she's a puppy still, so like I do give I'm understanding. I'm just strict about how I approach it. Right now, the what sucks is that she is a large dog.
Yeah.
Right? So when I do this, obviously when the puppies are 2 months, much easier because they're easier to clean up, not such a big mess.
Yeah.
But if you approach it this way, the turnaround process should be much quicker. It's a little bit messier, but it's much quicker in terms of her learning. Like I should make sure I hold my bladder and bowels. Okay. Yeah. Right. In terms of when to advance the clock or the time frame, is I go by every 4 weeks.
Okay.
So like if I have a 2-month-old puppy, right? Every 4 weeks I increase an hour, which falls right in line with the age, right? From a month, 2 months, 3 months to 4 months, because it's a 4-week month. So like, you would have her on a 2-week schedule whenever you're home with her, and she's going to be active and loose. And then after 4 weeks, now it's every 3 hours, right? After 4 weeks, now every 4 hours. And you might find maybe you hit that 5 to 6 hour mark and she's having a really hard time. Then I go back an hour. And I repeat another 4 weeks, and then I advance, right? Every dog's different. But if you start to notice she's having a harder time holding it, if there's been more potty mistakes, and you're doing everything else correct with holding and stuff, then it's just for whatever reason, she's not catching on as well as we would like her, that I just go back an hour, make it easier, practice that for another 4 weeks, and then expand an hour. Okay. The typical, I'm sure with Ben, he's probably on like a 3 outing schedule.
Yeah, I mean, he can hold it for a long time too, but it's not really a 3 outing schedule. Yeah.
So once Lexus hits 6 months, that's where they get to be more so in their adult body. Okay, so then you might see what she's capable of doing kind of exponentially like becomes greater. But I always tell people, like, I just err on the side of going slower.
Right.
It takes a little bit more time, but it's more beneficial for the dog or puppy.
Yeah.
Okay. So definitely withholding water, again, 1 ounce per pound.
Okay.
If she has more activity, you can give her a little bit, 5 ounces. Don't give her a full bowl. When she does pee, one thing that I recommend that my clients do is they watch their dogs stream. Okay. If it's clear and the end's clear, she's overhydrated. Okay. And she still has to pee more. Okay. It should be, if it starts clear, I want it to end yellow, like that dark, not light yellow, but that kind of darkish yellow. That's the end of the bladder. Okay. So if you're walking her and she pees and then, you notice, ended clear, like I would err on the side of she's got more to go. Keep going until you finally see, oh, there it is. And then I would bring her back inside and start that clock. Okay. For eating, I'm assuming, was it 2 times, 3 times a day?
3 times a day.
3 times? Okay. That's fine. How many poops do you typically see a day from her?
3 times a day. I mean,
3 times a day. Okay.
Yep.
That's good. And then once she's 6 months, if you want, you could drop down to 2 times. And at a year, you can drop down to 1 time, but that's all personal preference. Has she ever had any pooping mistakes, or has she been pretty good about that?
No, I don't think she hasn't had any pooping mistakes.
Okay, so it's
I mean,
just
there was only one time in her crate. She did poop in her crate, but it was in her crate, and that was after my family came over. She was very stressed out, and she had an
correct.
accident.
Okay, so I think you're fine with what you're doing with that.
Okay.
I would just adjust the water schedule and
Okay.
then put her on this timeline. And then just every 4 weeks, remember to expand it an hour. Okay? Questions about any of that stuff?
No.
If you forget any of this, you're more than welcome to shoot me an email and ask me to reiterate it. The other thing, I'll edit this and I'll put this up on YouTube. You can always go to my channel and just look up Lexus, and then go to the video and go, what did Jesse say right there? Oh yeah. And then it's your information, right? So it's specific to you, so it's easy to go back to reference if needed.
Perfect.
Anything else?
I don't think so. I'll look forward to Maria talking to me about switching, transitioning over to that the daycare and train. And you guys have the training materials that you guys use right there. So if there's something that is going to work out, and I started with the 10 days, like I said, I have the e-collar, but you guys, you'll show me all that stuff. But yeah,
right.
I think, she does need a little more. I do agree. She needs a little more advanced training. She does. And I just thought she was just too young. I didn't think this was the time for her to do that.
Yeah, no, as long as the owner's okay with it, like if you said no, like I don't want to, I'd rather wait till she's older, then I would say just save your money, come back in 2 months.
Okay.
Because I know what we're doing here. If that's your goal, I know you're not going to get her back and be happy. And that's where I'm concerned. Right?
Yeah, I know, and I don't expect to get her back like miracles happening overnight. I don't expect any change, like maybe slight, but I did not expect to, and that's what I thought I was putting her in the wrong program, because it just seemed like the program seemed like on the lower level of the totem pole,
Yeah.
and I said, I think these people really work on dogs who really need that behavioral and that correction and, that address. So I was like, well, I don't know if I put her in the right program. And so now here you're mentioning, probably transitioning to her.
Yeah, and Maria's not aware. Like she just goes. She's not a trainer. She just like does the.
Yeah, she does the accounting and stuff like that, right? Sure.
Yeah. So then, if I ever see something coming in, where I'm like, I'll right away like schedule a call or something, so I educate the owner, because a lot of people would think like, oh, I'm going to take my dog to this program and they'll walk away fine, and it's not how it works. So. But since you've had previous experience, you were like, oh yeah, sure. And you recognized it yourself. So obviously this all makes a lot of sense to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's perfectly doable for whatever reason. I don't foresee this, but if it's like maybe her brain hasn't matured and we're like, oh man, she's not ready for the e-collar, I will let you know.
Okay, I know. I trust you will.
Yeah, I don't foresee any of that. I've never had a dog that's had an issue. I've only had maybe 2 puppies where I had to stop and say like, oh yeah, they're too young, just come back in a couple of months. Okay. I don't think so here, but just so you're aware, if something happens there and we think it's not clicking, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Okay. And then I think Bree, Bob had to pick the Lexus up one day, and he told me that to obviously to set schedule, reach out to Maria to schedule a Zoom call, but she had mentioned to Bob something about they had taken him for a walk. She went on a walk, and I think she was lunging. There's something Bob said about biting, but he didn't. For him, he's like, I'm a former police officer. You're gonna tell me my dog bites? Okay, well, it's gonna go right over my head. Don't tell me, if my dog bites somebody, I'm just gonna have to put that dog down, or it's a bad sign to him.
Sure.
I said. So I wanted to clarify that she didn't bite anybody, because she's never bitten. She hasn't bitten it. Even my nieces and nephews, they come around, she doesn't. She doesn't.
Well, I know she hasn't bitten anybody here. I can talk because I'm with Bree today.
Okay.
She's with me on my training visits. I'll talk to her, and I made a note here. I'll clarify with her. What may have happened was if they were walking and maybe a runner ran by and she became reactive and maybe did like an air dip.
Okay.
Because of the fast movement.
Yes, she does do that.
Yeah, so that's probably, and it probably just got translated incorrectly.
Yeah. Okay.
But with the advanced training, that should not be an issue. Okay, because we're starting young, and I don't really foresee. I don't read agitation or aggression from her. I see an overstimulated, frustrated dog that needs some formal discipline to settle her down, and everything should be fine. Okay. I've been doing this 10 years. Behavioral, as you know, is my specialty. So if anything pops up that is of concern, we'll let you know. But I don't foresee anything. She's settled a lot since her first day. But the outside walking, of course, is a variable because it's not a facility, it's real world stuff. So.
And and she's a female dog. I've never, we got a female dog this time because I've never had a female. I always grew up with dogs, always had male dogs, always wanted a female dog, and they're female dogs for a reason. So, but it's at that point where I'm gonna have to spay her at some point, and I feel like most with German Shepherds, I wasn't planning on doing it with her for like a year and a half, but she's gonna start being in heat, and she's going to get that aggression is going to come out. It's going to be a different emotional stage in her life. So that's why I also wanted to start her early because, and I'll talk to the vet about getting her spayed, but I've been told that kind of does something with her temperament as well. Although for Ben, it didn't change him at all. He was the same,
I've, in my experience, never seen any issues with. I spayed my pit I wanted to spay her before her first heat. And then I waited too long, and then it happened, so I had to spay her afterwards. But she got spayed at 6 months. Okay. And she's a solid 65-pound pit, and her temperament has always been the same. Okay. It's that nature versus nurture type of thing. Some vets will say, don't do it till they're a year and a half so they grow completely. I've had people spay their, German or neuter their German Shepherds at the 6 months, and they still end up being 120-pound dogs. So. I just tell people, in my opinion, make the decision that's going to make you happy at the end of the day. Okay. As long as you're happy, that's all that matters. It's your dog. It's your home. I may say one thing, your vet might say another. Make your own decision. As long as you're happy with it, there's nothing, wrong. Right. Okay. Fair enough. Anything else?
I don't think so. Nope. That's it. I think that's it.
Excellent. So I'll talk to Maria. She'll get in touch with you. Okay. Thank you for your time and scheduling this sooner rather than later.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
For sure. So we'll be in touch, and then we'll get everything sorted out.
Okay. Wonderful.
Okay. Thank you, Yasmin.
Thanks, Jesse. Have a good night. Have a good weekend.